So here it is, the 60 cube. It's not what I would call complete just yet. Well, I guess far from it because there's nothing in it. But in terms of the plumbing and the tank, let me take a look here. So the bigger one is the stock Durso that it came with, and the smaller one, you can see I tilted the 90 like that to helps get the siphon started a little easier. I was having issues with with it not starting sometimes, and then it would just all go down the backup line. But what was a pleasant surprise is that even though I suspect I'm putting over 1,000 gallons per hour with this waveline pump, it's holding up even with just the Durso. So I guess technically I could have put the return in there and not did this at all and just used the Durso, but you'll see, in a moment why you wouldn't want to do that, which is because it is ridiculously loud. So here's the skimmer. I'm going to just remove this for a moment, just to make it a little easier to see what we're doing in here. Alright. I'll plug that in a second to show how that works. So, you can see what I did here. I got the main drain. The main drain comes down in the back there. I did that because I needed the length. Because this thing is, it just ended up so long. But you can see I did it on an angle there with the 45s, and yeah, this came out great. So then the other thing you can sort of see is this is the trickle line here, and I just used this flex hose, and I actually jammed the flex hose through the overflow of the sock chamber. So in the back there, if you can see, this is so hard to see because it's colorful. There you can sort of see it. There's a filter sock chamber there, and there's also a foam pad right on top of the sock, you can see. And there's supposed to be an overflow there, and there still is. It still works. If the sock gets clogged, it'll overflow over that. But you can see I just jammed the flex hose through there, and then I ran it back down over here. And so this is where the main drain comes in, and then the flex hose is basically right next to it, which you can't get more perfect than that, I think. And you can pull the flex hose out pretty easy if you want to change the socks or whatnot. So pretty happy with how that came out. It all seems to pretty much work. So let me show you why you wouldn't want to run just the Durso. So the big fat Durso is the flex hose here, and the smaller one that was tilted to the side is the black one. So if I close this, you can see it's that gate valve. You really got to turn it. Just listen to how noisy this is going to get. So the Durso can handle the output of this pump. So here's the pump controller, and this thing is on max. And this is the, it's got the apex ready or whatever. And this is also part of the pump as well. This is the power supply, and then this sits in between it. So that goes to the power supply, that goes to the pump. And don't mind all this tubing. This is the Python I was filling this up with, as well as this is actually the return line, and I'll show you more about that in a second. That's temporary. So here, now that this is fully going here, you can see, look how many bubbles are shooting out of that thing. And that's the Durso, just the Durso handling all the flow from this pump. Now I am reducing this to 3/4, and also this tube is ridiculously long right now, which is temporary. But let's open this up a little now. And we'll watch what happens. So that's not even opened all the way, and you can see it's significantly quieter already. Much less bubbles. So I'm opening this a little more, and now I'm pretty quiet. You can see the difference in noise is astounding. I've just been cranking it back slowly here just to dial it into where I want. And look at that. Is that not perfection or what? I mean, there's no bubbles at all. And it is dead silent. I can't hear a thing. In fact, all I hear is the water falling down the overflow up there. So that's one adjustment I might make, would be to make taller pipes. This Durso is the stock Durso that this thing came with, so I mean, on top of it running loud because it's a Durso, it would have been running this loud anyway, because that's just the water level they set, basically. And you can see, I mean, it might get a little higher than that, but it's, you know, my siphon is the one right next to it, and, you know, it's not that much lower than the stock, and it's still trickling a little bit down the Durso. So, hey, you know, it could be a little taller or even stock, but I'm guessing they play it on the conservative side because they don't want people complaining that they flooded their house. Of course, in my case, it's only as a backup, so much less of a problem. So let's show you the return. So this is a little makeshift thing I made. This was a 3/4 to barb, and it's a glue fitting, which was interesting, but it made it so I could make this nice little thing. And I mean, it looks so nice. I mean, other than the stickers and barcodes, but you know, if you painted it or something, it looks pretty good. And then 3/4 lock line that reduces down to 1/2 inch, and then it goes down to these fan things. And that was actually the stock one from this tank, but I kind of took it apart and rearranged the lock line a little bit. And this return is all very temporary. I may plumb it with some of this PVC. So that might happen, or I might leave it flex line but do some kind of manifold. Not really sure what I want to do yet. Let's take a look at the pump real quick. And the pump's pretty quiet. Pretty happy with the pump overall. In fact, it's pretty cool. I like the feed button on it, where if you hit feed here, you get a little 30-minute, see the little 30-minute lit up, pump stops, water's draining out, and yeah, starts filling up a little bit down there, but it'll eventually bottom out, or whatever you call it. It'll stop flowing. Alright, let's turn this back on. And you can see I get a pretty good amount of flow out of this thing. I don't think this tank was meant to have 1,000 gallons per hour through the return pump, but that's just how I do. And I can dial it back, of course, with my waveline, so I'm pretty happy about how that works. So let's plug the skimmer in. And this is a skimmer. That sounds almost redundant, but that's what it is. You can hear the bubbles are getting a little loud right now from the it's still purging all the bubbles out of the siphon line. When I closed it before, since there was already water in it, when I opened it back up, there wasn't any bubbles to purge. But since I turned the pump off and let everything drain, it will take a moment for the bubbles to all purge out of there. And then eventually you'll see that when it's purging the bubbles, you'll see there's bubbles actually coming out of both the full siphon and the backup. So once the once the bubbles are purged, it'll only be coming out of most of the water will be coming out of the full siphon, but until then, it's sort of an uneven flow. Anyway, let's get to the skimmer, and by the time I'm done talking about that, I'm sure it'll have purged. I can help it go a little quicker if I if I open the siphon or the valve, but I kind of want to just let it do its thing. So this is the skimmer, and so this thing here, I guess basically what it does is it adjusts how much water you're letting out. And so when you close this down or let it loose all the way, you're basically trapping more of the water in the skimmer. And so you see when I do that, the water's rising already. And then over here, you got your little air adjustment, and this is how much air is coming into it. And if you tighten that up and let less air in, or at least I think that's what it does, it'll rise the water as well. And you can see, you can easily make it rise to the point that it'll spill into the cup. But I think the notion is that you want this tuned so it doesn't spill constantly. It's just sort of sitting at the very top kind of thing like this. And you can see, and it's bubbling away there. Now let me speed this up here. So if I open this a couple more turns. Did you hear that? That big bubble just purged. There must have been a bubble trapped in there somewhere. It will purge by itself, but usually you will hear like a big clunk and then all of a sudden the bubble goes. And right now I have it open too much. There we go. And it's running nice and quiet now. You can see not too many bubbles coming out of there now. It's still purging a few, but it's about good. And yeah, you can see the water sits pretty high back there. I wish the skimmer wasn't in the way, but things are pretty damn tight in the sump. I mean, look at that. There's not much room to spare. So if I do ever mount any electrical, it's either going to go on the sidewall or maybe on the back, or maybe just on the wall, because this is going to be tight. So we'll see. But yeah, the returns might get redone a little bit. I might do a manifold or something. Might even do a manifold out of vinyl and barb fittings or something, just to make it easy. And I don't know, something I can sort of adjust, just because there's so little room in here to work. I don't want to hard plumb too much and just make it impossible to do anything. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to put in this refugium, but it's pretty cool. You can see the water goes through here, then it goes through the little teeth there, into the foam, and then back into the return chamber. And this sump is a 4-chamber, so there's like the little return chamber in the back, the skimmer chamber, refugium, return. It's kind of nice that they fit that much into a tiny little cube sump, but it's trigger systems, so it's you know, they did a good job, I think. My only complaint is it rocked a little bit. I don't think it's entirely the fault of the sump. I think the stand itself was a little out of whack. When I pushed it all the way forward, it wouldn't rock as much, but I just ended up sticking a couple of composite shims in the back there, and yeah, I think it's fine. It's not, doesn't rock, and this thing is built well enough, and there's not enough weight in here that I'm too concerned about any problems. So I think it'll be good. So yeah, no, I leveled out the stand. The stand was pretty much level, so that's good. It wasn't like upstairs, twice as much weight and half as much level. But no, this all came out good. This is glued, so I'm pretty much screwed with these bulkheads if I want to ever take this apart. But I did put a union here, and it is a threaded gate valve, so I can cut all this out and reuse the gate valve or whatever if I ever needed to. And if I was redoing this, I probably would use thread for this part of the bulkhead. I'd still want slip on the inside. It's impossible to thread something down into there. That would be a nightmare. So I just push them in, and they stay good enough that it doesn't like leak the whole tank out or anything. At least it hasn't yet. Yeah, probably do more testing as things go on. But yeah, that's it for now. As you can see, this thing is a pretty cool little sump here. I'm still pretty impressed with it. I like the blue as well instead of the green, because normally these are green. But I don't know, they're calling this limited edition, but I have a feeling if you call up Trigger Systems, they'll just make you one whatever color you want. If you pay them enough, right? And yeah, so this hard plumb, that flex line, I got these flex lines are actually from my other sump, and I don't know, for now this is working really well. It made it a lot easier to plumb this around like that with the flex line, and then also getting around the skimmer. I don't know how I would have got around the skimmer, and I was never thinking, I was originally going to try to hard plumb it, but I was never thinking I'd manage to hard plumb it all the way down into there. I was just going to dump it over the little lip there. See that little slot that it's going through? I was just going to try to get to go through the slot and just dump it right, onto the top of the foam there. And I could still do that if I cut this shorter, but it was long enough, and it just happened to reach so that I can literally stick it right next to the factory input there. So I was like, well, shit, I'll just do that. And if I do need to change the filter sock, it's one extra step to pull it out, but honestly, it's already kind of a pain to get back there. I got to take the skimmer off, and I figured it'll be a weekly routine to probably pull the skimmer off, dump the thing, dump the, skimmate or whatever they call it. And then, once that's off of there, you can reach back there and get to the thing easily. Of course, right now it's running, so I don't want to do that, but actually what I could do is let this open, bring this up a little bit, you'll see the water will just drop, and now if I take this off, it won't make a mess. And so yeah, you can see there's the little lid here. So basically there's foam, a piece of plastic with holes in it, and then the filter sock is right under that. So given that it's got the foam pre-filter and all that, hopefully I won't have to change the sock as often, especially given there's only one sock. But that skimmer runs a little loud when there's not enough water in it. That's good to know. I'd like to look into one of those systems to clean the skimmer automatically or something. Might be a little overkill given that I'm just getting into this saltwater stuff, but I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool notion to have the skimmer sort of cleaning itself and alerting you when it's full or whatever. Yeah, see, now that I got it dialed in here, it's being much quieter. I never noticed that, but then again, I haven't really played with this too much yet, to be honest. I don't even know how it's supposed to be adjusted. Given this isn't even salt water, I don't even think it's bubbling the way it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to be a lot more frothy once there's salt water in there. But, I don't know, it bubbles pretty damn good, whatever it's doing. It's, and this is, the SK181, I think is the model on this one. And I don't know, it was recommended to me, and seems like the Skims has a good bang for your buck sort of thing. So it wasn't no Bubble King though, but you know, maybe someday. I think for now, for starters, this is getting me going. But yeah, wish you could see better back there. I was gonna try to do a whole setup like this, chest fill with the tank pulled out, but you know, I decided really where I want the weight is to be, you know, where it should be, so that it weighs the carpet down. Because I mean, I wanted this thing as close to the wall as possible, but you know what happens is there's that carpet tack strip, you know, right here, and you can feel it if you know, you can even almost see it. It's like right there's the edge of it. So this could probably actually get pushed over, I don't know, like another 1/4 inch, but it's close enough that I'm good. It's, you know, it's actually almost flush with the wall this way, and it doesn't actually stick out past the wall on this direction. On this direction it does, but I always sort of suspected it would. And honestly, this is not a high flow area. I mean, it's a bit busy back here right now, in fact, so no. But yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it's mostly done. I think the main thing is the return. I'm gonna try to get something better for this. I'm just not really entirely happy with it, and I didn't want to cut the hose until I have the rest of the parts that I want. I was even thinking of getting a little lock line L, like a 90 basically elbow, just because I don't know. The way that this sits, it was very hard to get it to break the siphon, and I feel like if I had an L and then the two things, it would be perfect. So I'm thinking lock line L, probably buy a couple of them, because I might even try that same thing upstairs. In fact, now that I'm thinking at it, I might not have needed to cut those siphon break holes upstairs if I just had the L's and had the lock line come out more horizontal, essentially. Because the way these are, the lock line is, you know, it's coming out vertically. It's coming out down instead of forward. So if I put an L on the lock line, it's hard to see. But yeah, if I put an L on the lock line, then that'll be nice. And you can see I made this little spacer here out of just a piece of cut up tubing. It's the same tubing, just cut a slice and cut it down the center. And it works. It's not great, but keeps it a little more, you know. Plus it's a rimless tank, so that makes me a little, you know, a little less concerned. Of course, it would have been nice to not have anything over the top, but it's in the back. Who cares? Plus, I'm probably going to have a cord over the top for the heater, because I wanted to put my heater in there, maybe. I might have to put it in the sump, honestly. It's looking pretty crowded back there. Yeah, that's it for now. And I'll have to, like I said, the next steps is finishing the return. And after the return is finished up, then, you know, we'll go from there. I mean, at this point, I'm going to start researching, you know, what I need to do to actually start a saltwater tank. What do I need to do for the rocks? I might put down egg crate again, just because, hey, I am going to probably put some big-ass corals in here or something try to stack to the top. So if I'm trying to stack something 24 inches high, then I definitely want that egg crate down there. So probably have to cut a curve. That's going to be fun, cutting around that curved corner overflow, but it shouldn't be too bad. I'm getting pretty good at working with the stuff, although I do feel like the stuff is like razor blades. Once you get a sharp edge on that stuff, it's pretty nasty. But yeah, I still have to figure out what I'm doing for power and power strip and all that. I've got a extension cord I'm going to cut off and put a GFC outlet on the end, and then do some kind of power strip or something that'll go under here, or maybe even on the back wall here. So, to be determined. And yeah, can see I've got my bucket of PVC. This will be my heater here. Got the Aqueon Pro 150, and I think those things are pretty much the best, at least until they start blowing up on me. Alright, this went a little longer than I thought, but hey, here is the new Cube. And yeah, you can see that thing puts out some serious water, and that's just one of the jets. I figured, why have both point at the top when I feel like the surface tension is pretty good there with just one. So I figure aim the other one, you know, somewhere else. So I think it's aiming down right now, but you know, to be determined. We'll see how this ends up. Alright.